Hello everybody and welcome to a new series of videos I'm going to be doing called Which is Better. And it's basically where I take an older movie, or like not really an older movie, but just like an original movie and compare it to its remake or a reboot or reimagining of this particular story that's been adapted to film. And basically it's a lot like the Nostalgia Critics videos that he does, where he compares a remake to the original or reboot of any sorts. That's basically what I'm going to be doing and bring out my opinion between which two of a particular story is better. And so, today we are going to be comparing the 1995 film starring Sylvester Stallone, Judge Dredd, to the 2012 film starring Karl Urban, Dredd. Judge Dredd first appeared in a British comic called 2000 AD and appeared in this universe where basically the whole world is a radiated wasteland, but there's one little spot called Mega City 1 where the judges are judge, jury, and executioner and take people on trial because the crime is so bad that they can only have it right there. That's not the best way of summing it up, but anyway, he became popular enough to get his own comic book series around the 80s and eventually became popular enough to get his own movie adaptation. Enter the 1995 blockbuster Judge Dredd starring Sylvester Stallone as Judge Dredd, and you know what? This movie has gotten a lot of crap since then, mostly because it's unfaithful to the comic book adaptation. See, what makes Judge Dredd so different from all the other comic book characters is that he has pretty much no emotion because he's not human. He was part of an experiment, which name I keep forgetting. Basically, it was a failed experiment to make robotic, judges, and so Judge Dredd was the only one that succeeded, and it was a good mix of cyborg and human, which, not like RoboCop, but it's its own unique thing. So basically, he's not like all the other typical superheroes. He's not human, he doesn't always get the girl, and he never takes off his helmet. He's emotionless, but over time he learns to have human qualities and to become somewhat of a person. Judge Dredd has all this material and a great premise and doesn't really use it. See, the problem here is that it's not a Judge Dredd movie. It is a Stallone movie, and a very generic one at that. It's very predictable and in a lot of places. And it's somewhat of a guilty pleasure type movie. It's pretty silly too. It's not dark or brooding or anything. It's just a silly Stallone movie, not faithful to the comic book or in some ways it is, but for the most part this is meant to be a Stallone movie, and if you like Stallone movies you'll enjoy this, but if you're looking for anything else, prepare to be disappointed. However, the movie has some other great actors like Armand Assante, Diane Lane, and Max von Sydow. Oh, and we also have Rob Schneider. Yeah, this is actually my least favorite aspect of the movie, because I don't really hate Rob Schneider that much. He's not in any really good movies. I don't really hate the guy as an actor, but in this movie, he's really annoying. He's by far the worst thing about the movie. Yeah, he's just useless, he's annoying, However, the movie has some awesome set pieces and backgrounds are futuristic, some excellent costume design, and some cool robot animatronic effects. It also has a few excellent action sequences and a great score by Alan Silvestri. We even have this.
I am the law! You betray the law!
How can you beat that? How about by actually making a good movie? 17 years later, that's what we got in Dredd. Dredd was a kick-ass and gritty sci-fi film starring Karl Urban as Judge Dredd, who is my favorite of the two. We also have Lena Headey as our main villain, and Olivia Thirlby as Anderson, a rookie psychic. Dredd was in a more gritty setting, no fights on the Statue of Liberty, just a badass action movie taking place in a 200-story building. It had a shit ton of kick-ass action sequences and a character that we could actually kind of relate to, but was still cool in her own right. The great thing about Dredd is that Dredd is a Judge Dredd movie. It's faithful to the comic books, it's good in its own right, and it's very rewatchable. It's only like an hour and a half. It's a simple, good time. It doesn't try to be anything else. It's also very stylized, especially in these slow motion scenes. The story's cool. There's this new drug going around called Slow-Mo, and basically this girl named Mama, played by Lena Headey, as I said, is basically developing it all in this building called Peachtrees, and it's taken over the whole place. And so Dredd takes Anderson out to show her what it's like to be out in the field, and then they get caught inside the building. So it's up to them to survive in the 200-story building. So now let's analyze both of these movies and see which one is really superior, at least in my opinion. So let's start off with the plot. Now I do like the simple, basic versions of the plot here. I mean, I like how Stallone's Judge Dredd is basically out there trying to survive after being wrongly convicted of murder, while the other one's just a simple action movie, basically Die Hard in the future with Judge Dredd. And I like both of them, but I have to give it to Dredd, mainly because it's much more simple and stylized. I mean, there's not much more to it. I mean, with Judge Dredd, there's so much more going on. There's a lot of continuity issues, while Dredd was just a good way to introduce the character that's from the original comics. And with the old Judge Dredd, it's just Stallone territory. And while I enjoy myself some Stallone stories, I gotta give it to Dredd, mainly because it's the more faithful and more rewatchable story to watch. Winner, Dredd. Like I said before, Judge Dredd has a really great cast. Sylvester Stallone is Sylvester Stallone. Armand Assante is a very cool villain. He's always hamming it up in the scenes in this movie. He's playing an over-the-top, fun villain, going "Ugh!" and stuff. We got Diane Lane in the movie, who's always great to watch, and she's really hot in this movie. And we got Max von Sydow as the leader of the judges. And, I don't like Rob Schneider that much in this movie, but I mean, at least he's not a terrible actor. But like I said before, Karl Urban is still my favorite of the two Dredds, mainly because he's playing Judge Dredd, not playing Karl Urban, if there even is a Karl Urban. The guy's so versatile, it's hard to say what is Karl Urban. But I also like Lena Headey, though she's just kind of a bitch. Let's be honest, that's all she was. And then I like Olivia Thirlby as Anderson. She's a very deep character, and she's relatable, and Dredd is just badass. I'm also going to give this one to Dredd, not because of the cast itself, but because the cast was more well used. And everyone was great in the movie, and while everyone was great in Judge Dredd, here they just had better stuff to do overall. Winner, again, Dredd. Well, I love the sets in Dredd. I'm gonna have to give this one to Judge Dredd, mainly because it makes more out of the set pieces and budget that it has. I mean, I love the style of Dredd, but for this part alone, Judge Dredd wins because they fight on the Statue of Liberty, and there's just a lot of cool stuff in this movie to look at. Minus Rob Schneider's annoying screaming during this scene, the motorbike chase was really fun to watch in the movie. It was really cool to see all the stuff and all the crazy ideas and effects they made for the city in this movie. So yeah, I give this one to the Stallone film. For this topic, I really gotta give it a tie, and here's why. Okay, so Dredd in the newer movie looks way cooler. I mean, come on, look at Stallone. He's got a freaking codpiece on him. He looks a little stupid. And I love how the lead characters look in Dredd. But the reason why I'm giving it a tie is because Judge Dredd has some really kick-ass costumes for these side characters, like the guards and everybody and the higher levels of judges and everything. They just look way cooler. I mean, I get it, like Dredd's a more realistic version, but for just this topic alone, I like the side characters more. So the lead characters are rocking some cool stuff in Dredd, and the side characters in Judge Dredd are rocking some cool costumes as well. In this aspect, Judge Dredd looks more like Demolition Man 2, and Dredd has a much more gritty, realistic vibe to it that I just think is so cool. I mean, it kind of reminds me of RoboCop in a way, the original, that is, only even cooler looking. I love a lot of the stuff that they kind of made, like the big buildings, like Peachtrees and stuff. It's just so cool. I mean, the visuals are fantastic for that. Not to say they aren't in Judge Dredd, but they're way cooler in Dredd. The opening motorbike chase going through Mega City 1 was riveting and really cool to watch going through Mega City 1. It was some kick-ass stuff. And the final one, action. Sorry, Stallone fans, but I gotta give this one to Dredd, mainly because with the insulation and everything in that opening motorbike chase, it was just more fun to watch, and some of the Judge Dredd stuff was silly. I mean, not to say it wasn't entertaining, but the fight on the Statue of Liberty was too short at the end, and Rob Schneider was screaming through some of it too, and it got kind of annoying. The opening shootout, it was entertaining, and most of it is entertaining, but Dredd is just way more realistic and way cooler. Like I said, I love how stylized it is, and Karl Urban had some pretty great one-liners during the scene, and there's a lot of tension, surprisingly. I love how much tension is in the scenes, especially with Anderson involved not wearing her helmet. It just added to it. Like I said, Judge Dredd had some fun action, but I love the stylized tension of the Dredd movie, or the Dredd remake, I'm sorry. So yes, I enjoy Dredd more. Not to say I don't like Judge Dredd, but it's more like guilty pleasure entertainment. Would I recommend it? No, it's tough to say. It depends what you like in a movie. With Dredd, I feel like it adapts to the world of action movies today a lot better, and it's sad that it bombed so bad, because I was really hoping for a Dredd sequel. I don't know, I enjoy it a lot. I mean, I just think it's a really cool, violent action film, and Judge Dredd's just guilty pleasure Rob Schneider stuff, I guess you can say. It's a Stallone movie with Rob Schneider, and I'll just say Demolition Man was better. But, I mean, if you like Stallone movies and you can handle Rob Schneider, I'd say check out Judge Dredd. It's actually got some pretty good performances, but Dredd is very superior in my opinion, mainly for the grittiness, I'm sorry, the violence, loads of action, the tension, the characters, and a very simplistic story. But if you don't like too much violence, maybe go more for Stallone's Judge Dredd. But if you want a violent, over-the-top, exciting action movie, definitely go for Dredd. It's a good time. It's on Netflix, and so you can go stream it there. Thank you for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this video. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Otherwise, will come after you. See ya.